Good morning and welcome to an extremely wet North Yorkshire. It's absolutely chucking it down, but I love it. There's so many advantages to shooting in the rain, particularly in Woodland. It does fantastic things for atmosphere, for colour, for reflecting light. So yeah, I'm really quite enjoying this, to be honest, despite the fact that I'm getting very wet. So I've come to a spot which I discovered about 2.5 years ago here in North Yorkshire, and I've been waiting to get a lovely foggy or misty morning down here, and I've just missed it. You know, it's probably happened, but I've missed it. So I don't really want to wait any longer. I think I've done 2 videos here already, but I've never actually taken any photographs in those videos. So I thought it'd be nice just to come down and take some images regardless. It might not be perfect, it might not be the final image that I have visualized that I'm really aiming towards, but I think we can still get some quite pleasing images in this rain. So like I said, the rain, although very difficult to work in, and I'm slipping everywhere as well, does really nice things for colour. It works really well on these silver birch leaves and on the bracken, because we're in early autumn time now and everything's starting to turn. So I really want those kind of nice natural, not really vibrant, but just a nice natural early autumn colours to come through. So I've come to a scene here which I have walked past before, and it's quite a challenging scene, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm drawn to it, because I love compositions like this where you've really got to work hard to try and get the most out of it. And I've come to accept that there's some imperfections in this. There's some bits which aren't ideal, but I'll go into the reasons why I accept them. So to give you a feel for what I'm looking at, sorry, I can't stand still. We've got some mossy branches just creeping in from the left hand side, and then it kind of kinks up and follows the flow of this other main mossy tree trunk here. And then we've got another branch lower down that flows into the right hand side of the scene. Then we've got 2 leaning trees over on the right hand side of the frame, which kind of lead off the frame, but then they've got these lovely kind of secondary trees, if you like, these nice vertical branches which are coming up from the silver birch tree. So everything kind of flows over to the right hand side, and then those lovely vertical branches, they just start to frame the right hand side of the scene, and then they just kind of curve round a little bit at the top, just to kind of create that natural vignette again. And then this branch over on the left hand side, this tree trunk here, where that curves up and helps to frame the top of the scene. And then straight through the middle, we've got an oak tree in the distance, just to kind of give that extra bit of depth, that visual element in the centre of the frame. But also back there's no canopy, so that's helping to kind of bring the light down. So essentially we've got these lovely kind of complex structure of branches taking us around the scene, but ultimately the light and where we want to be held in the image is in the centre of the frame. So it's kind of similar concept to what I've talked about before, but there are a few more things to consider here. So the slightly annoying thing is the branch that leans off in the bottom right hand corner. It's just this little triangle in the bottom right over the right in the frame, and it's not ideal. It creates a little bit of tension in the scene, which is absolutely fine. Possibly a slight bit of unbalance, which I've tried to counteract by making sure there's plenty of weight in the left hand side of the scene. But importantly, there's a nice branch which just comes up and curves into the scene. So that alone is enough for me to accept that tree trunk down there. I think it works. Like I said, I'm quite happy with a bit of tension. I think ideally it would be good to just have that misty morning. And I think even just 3 days from now would make all the difference, because these silver birch leaves are turning to yellow really quite quickly, and I think that little bit of extra yellow will help to create that separation between these foreground branches and the background, and it'll create that lovely autumn frame of yellow all the way around the scene. It will look absolutely fantastic. But I'm going to take this now because I might not be able to come down again, the conditions might not be any good. And actually just before I started talking, it was chucking it down, and just this little hint of mist just briefly passed through, just probably generated because of the rain was so heavy. So it was just enough to soften that oak tree in the background, create that depth, create that atmosphere, and really kind of capture the feel of this morning. So technically I'm going to shoot a slightly smaller aperture than usual. I'm going to go for f11. That's going to get all these foreground branches in focus. It's going to get softer further back because I've zoomed into about not far off 50mm. So the tree in the background will be softer, doesn't matter because of the rain, it's going to be soft anyway. So yeah, that's worked quite well. I think it was our friend Mr. Thomas Heaton said, I like to photograph the things that everybody else walks past, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but no, he was you know, being kind, because I think essentially what he was saying was there's these lovely intimate scenes which are very easy to miss, such as little scenes of character which are less obvious, and these little snippets which together build up a really nice kind of picture of the wider landscape that we all enjoy. And I really enjoy these small scenes. I enjoy the challenge, and I think it is important to spend that little bit of time working with these challenging scenes, flexing our creative muscles, and I think even the least obvious scene can look amazing under the right conditions and create a very compelling image. And if you want to practice composition, then Woodland is the best place to do it as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I love the challenge of it. Right, the rain's just lightened off a bit now. I can see the cloud has lifted, it's starting to lighten a little bit, perhaps losing a bit of that atmosphere, but quite happy with that. I'll move on and see if we can capture something else. And yeah, Meg's looking like a little bit of a drowned rat at the minute. So unfortunately the rain has stopped and it looks like the sun's trying to come out, which is a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a strange breed as woodland photographers where we want the rain and not the sun, because it will affect the atmosphere a bit, but everything's still wet, the colours still look good, so I'll continue to take shots. Now what I've got here is a composition which I spotted a few days ago. I was out with a client, we were walking past, this just caught my eye, I took a quick shot with my mobile phone. And yeah, I just wanted to give it a go today because I thought it was quite nice. I just explained to the client what I was doing. But it's really about the kind of shapes and the relationships between these two trees here. So what we've got is this really nice stumpy oak tree. It's just arching over the riverbank. Coming back in the opposite direction is these really nice sort of squirmy branches which lead into the crown of this oak tree. Really nice crown of glossy oak leaves. And in the background we've got another oak tree which is looking a little bit sorry for itself, but it's showing off its structure really nicely, and that arches over the top of this one. So it's quite a nice, some really nice kind of complementary shapes, nice interaction between the two. There's not quite as much autumn colour as I would like, because there's a patch of kind of rusty, vibrant bracken down in the bottom left-hand corner here, so it'd be nice to kind of get some of that complementary colour throughout the rest of the scene. With some yellow and orange in the oak leaves up there. Now, similar to the other shot, where the bottom right-hand corner was bothering me a bit, I've got the same situation here, but now instead what I've got is just a little patch of the river that's flowing through. So I've been looking at it thinking, you know, am I bothered? Is it distracting to kind of have that little patch of river down there? And I've just decided to go with it, and I don't mind it at all, to be honest. I think that just a little hint of the river, just that little suggestion, just gives an idea of what the kind of characteristics of this woodland are like. So yeah, I don't mind it, and there's a bit of a sheen on the water, so I think it'd be quite tempting to put a polarizer on, but I cannot remember the last time I used the polarizer in woodland, to be honest. It's not that kind of look that you get from it and actually cutting through the reflections I'm not that keen on, because when you've got the sheen on wet glossy leaves, I love that because it just gives this really nice natural contrast, as long as it's not too bright. But when it's just soft light, glossy leaves. It's really, really nice. And the last thing I want to do is cut through that and then just flatten out the scene and flatten out the greens. So with the sheen down there, it just gives this kind of lovely little shimmer effect. And if I cut through that with a polarizer, then I'd lose the contrast between that and the tree trunk. So what we'd end up with is this tree trunk that just kind of gets lost a little bit, and I think in the dark water. So yeah, not going to use a polarizer. I've framed up a 4x5 crop. I've done that using the grid pattern on the back of here. I don't want to go too high, I don't want to accentuate any height because these are quite short trees, so I want to keep it quite condensed. Yeah, some nice ferns and things down here. Oh, that's Meg. She's just paddling away in the river down there. Maybe there'll be a blurred Meg just running around in the corner of my shot. But yeah, quite happy with it. It's just quite interesting dynamics again. So we'll see how that turns out. The sun's well and truly out now, so we're going to get some harsh light, but there's plenty of cloud around, so fingers crossed I'll get one more shot in. So it looks like the sun is out and here to stay, unfortunately, so I think I'm going to call it a day, probably head home, go for a walk with Adele and Meg and enjoy the sunshine that way. But I hope you've seen the benefits of coming out in this more inclement weather. It is very challenging trying to keep everything dry and the lens dry, but if it wasn't for that really heavy rain earlier on, then I never would have got that sort of sense of atmosphere and separation in that first shot, so very much worthwhile. And all the wet foliage, it's just great, it just does fantastic things for the colour in the silver birch leaves, the orange bracken and the sheen on the oak leaves. So yeah, really lovely. And this is very much early autumn, so hopefully lots more productive days to come as the colour progresses. But thank you very much for watching this episode, and as always, I hope to see you for the next one.